Good afternoon, boys and girls. Today we are learning lesson 8.4, and this lesson is all about fractions of a whole, and we're going to see what that means as we go along today. So make sure you have your first, last name, and the date, and let's begin. The first pizzeria in America opened in New York in 1905. The pizza recipe came from Italy. Look at Italy's flag. What fraction of the flag is not red? So I underlined not red because it's not asking us which fraction of the flag is red, but instead it's asking us which fraction is not. So if we look over at the picture they give us, it says Italy's flag has 3 equal parts. And which parts are not red? Well, we can see the green and the white are not red. So 2 pieces out of 3 are not red. And that's how you would fill in down here. 2/3 of the flag is not red. Now ask yourself, always go a step further and get your brain going. What fraction of the flag is red? And if you can see, there's only 1 piece of 3 that is red. So if that was the question, it would be 1/3. All right, some vocabulary, and I'm excited about this because about a month ago, we went over these words randomly in class. I was showing you on our morning work fractions, and I decided to tell you the names of them, numerator and denominator, and they're back with us. The numerator tells how many parts are being counted, and the denominator tells how many equal parts are in the whole or in the group. And off to the side, I wrote the total, right? That's just like the flag. The denominator is 3. That's the total pieces. The numerator is the specific pieces that you're counting. Now, this problem, and this problem are done for us as examples. You can see that. And remember, yesterday we learned about unit fractions. This is a unit fraction here. This is a unit fraction, 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 and this is a unit fraction. Each piece is 1/6 of the whole, all right? Here we have 2/6 shaded in, 3/6 shaded in. Now off to the side, I wrote 3/6 is equal to 1/2. Another thing that we've talked about on the board before, if you just look at this picture and you ignore the numbers for a second, say all you saw was colors, you would notice that the whole shape, half of it is colored in. So in other words, 3/6 is the same thing as 1/2, right everyone? Is 3 half of 6? Yeah, so I sent out on Google Classroom a video about equivalent fractions, and this is an example of equivalent fractions. These 2 fractions are equal. Here it's asking us to fill in how many pieces are shaded, and I already did that. 4/6. 5 are shaded in, so 5 is our numerator. And look at this one. 6 out of 6 are shaded. And if you ignore those numbers, you would notice that the whole thing is shaded. So always remember this. When your numerator and the denominator are the same number, it equals 1 whole, right? 6/6. 6 pieces out of 6 parts are shaded in. And down here, it clarifies that for us. For example, 6/6 is 1 whole, or 1. All right. So up here, it says, write the missing word or number to name the shaded part. Be careful, I underlined shaded part because in the beginning of the lesson, it asked us what is the fraction for the parts that aren't shaded. So be very careful for those directions. Now, I labeled numerator and denominator just to go an extra mile, and I'm sure a lot of you are doing that as well. 6 is our total number of pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And 2 is the number that's shaded, 2/6. And down here, I wrote it in word form. Fractions follow many similar rules as what we've learned in the past. We have many forms of numbers in math. For example, we have word or written form, which is actually writing out the numbers with letters. We have standard form. For example, the number 26 is just using the numbers 2 and 6. And then we have our expanded form where we're drawing out that number by place value, 20 plus 6. So a lot of those lessons, they're carried out throughout all of your learning in math. Remember, this is called word form or written form. Now, letter B, again, we have the total number of pieces here as our denominator, which is 8. And if you counted, 5 are shaded in. And again, word form, 5/8. Here's letter C. 2 out of 3 are shaded, and we get 2/3. Numerator, denominator. And again, here's that example of when a fraction is the same as one whole, equivalent fractions. You have a total of 6 pieces, and all 6 of them are shaded in. And 6/6 is the same thing as one whole. Moving to share and show. It says shade 2 parts out of 8 equal parts, and then write a fraction in words and in numbers to name the shaded part. Well, looking here, we know that there's 8 total pieces, but I hope you underline 2 parts because it wants us to shade in 2 of those 8 equal pieces. Word form, 2/8. Written form, 2/8. 2/8. Numerator, denominator. Now, number 2 through 4, and actually all the way through 7 are the same directions here. It's asking us to write the fraction that names each part. Careful here. And then write a fraction in words and numbers to name the shaded part. So I showed you here that each of these pieces are 1 out of 4 pieces, right? Here's a 1/4 of the whole, here's a 1/4 of the whole, here's a 1/4 of the whole, and here's another 1/4 of the whole. And again, going back to yesterday's lesson, those are all unit fractions. So each part is a 1/4, but we're specifically looking at 2 pieces, so 2/4 are shaded. And this is the number, the fraction form of it, 2/4. Numerator, denominator, and here's your word form. So I want you to complete that for numbers 3, 4, and 5 through 7. We'll go over one more out of that bunch. Each part on number 7 here, we have 6 pieces total. So each part is 1/6, right? They're all unit fractions. They're all one piece of that whole, and we know that there's 6 pieces there. So again, each part is 1/6, and if you counted, 4 out of 6 are shaded, so in word form, 4/6, and here it is in fraction form, 4/6. Numerator, denominator. And again, maybe some of you are going the extra mile. Numbers 8, 9, and 10, you are shading in your numerator. So 6 out of 8, I shaded in 8 pieces here. I shaded in 6 pieces here out of 8, and I wrote my fraction. Some of you may want to get fancy here and write it in word form too, 6/8. Again, remember those consonant diagraphs there. 3/4. 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to write it over here, 3/4. Now this one, here we go. This is another equivalent fraction problem, 3 out of 3. If we were to write that as a fraction right away, I know it's 3/3. And we're going to color in the whole thing. That's a terrible job shading in. I know yours look better. Okay, and just as I said, we're shading in the whole thing. That means that 3/3, 3 out of 3 is 1 whole. And that's an example of an equivalent fraction, right? All right. Now for some word problems. A flag is divided into 4 equal sections. One section is white. What fraction of the flag is not white? I want to be careful here. There's a lot going on. I'm going to underline not white. And I'm going to underline it's divided into 4 equal sections. And again, one section is white. So let's draw this out. Here's the flag, and we're going to separate it into 4 equal parts. Now, one section is white. What fraction of the flag is not white? 1, 2, 3. 3 pieces out of 4 are not white. Now, this is a little confusing because the background of my book is white. So you gotta think outside the box a little bit for that one. Number 12. A garden has 6 sections. 2 sections are planted with tomatoes. Which fraction represents the part of the garden without tomatoes? So here's my garden, and I'm just kind of setting it up that way to make it nice and simple. And I have 6 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, 2 sections are full of tomatoes. These are the sections that do not have the tomatoes. And as you can tell, there's 4 without tomatoes out of that total again, which is 6. So 4/6 of the garden is without tomatoes. Number 13. Jane is making a memory quilt from some of her old favorite clothes that are too small. She will use t-shirts for the shaded squares in the pattern. What names the part of the quilt that will be made of t-shirts? So again, let's count up our total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right away, I'm going to set my fraction up with 8 as my denominator. And let's go back to that question, and I should have underlined it. What names the part of the quilt that will be made of t-shirts? So if we go up here, it says she will use t-shirts for the shaded parts. So we need to count how many are shaded. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4/8 of the quilt will be made of t-shirts. Now again, I know I'm going back to different resources here with that video from Khan Academy about equivalent fractions. 4 is half of 8, isn't it, everybody? And we know that by using all of our methods, like repeated addition is 4 plus 4, 4 times 2 is 8. 4 is half of 8, and so 4/8 is the same thing as 1/2. And I'm showing you now because that is yet to come, so a little bit of a sneak peek. All right, here we go. Last page. Number 14 says, Mrs. Ormond ordered pizza. Ooh, pizza sounds so good right now, doesn't it? Each pizza had 8 equal slices. What fraction of the pepperoni pizza was eaten? And what fraction of the cheese pizza is left? So let's take this one step at a time. First, let's look at the pepperoni one. Well, how many pieces were there originally? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right away, I'm going to set up my fraction and get my total number in my denominator section. Now it's asking me what fraction of the pepperoni pizza was eaten. And you can see that this person had 2 pieces already. So 2 pieces out of 8 are eaten. Again, say it asked you, what fraction of the pizza is left? Well, again, we stick with our denominator. That's 8 total. And we know that if I asked you how many pieces were left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are left, right? 6/8 are left. But here it's asking us how many were eaten. So be careful on the question and reading it carefully. 2/8 is eaten. Now it's saying what fraction of the cheese pizza is left? Well, again, all of these pizzas had 8 equal slices. It tells us that, right? Each pizza had 8 slices. So looking at the cheese pizza, what fraction of it is left? Well, I see 3 pieces left, don't you? So for this one, I'm going to label 2/8 of the pepperoni pizza was eaten. Pepperoni was eaten. Sorry, it's very messy right now. And the cheese, we know that 3/8 of the cheese is left, right? Okay, number 15. Use the picture of the veggie pizza to write a problem that includes a fraction. Solve your problem. So again, this is going to change. Every one of us might have a different question about this veggie pizza here. But looking at it, I might ask, how many slices are left of the veggie pizza? So I would write out that question, make sure you have your punctuation, your question mark at the end, and then you can solve it. Well, I know there's 8 total here. That's going to be my denominator. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are left. So 5/8 of the veggie pizza is left. And number 15, I'm going to let you word your own question and solve it there. Maybe you want to word it and say how much of the veggie pizza was already eaten. And again, we still have that original 8 pieces, but we can see that 3/8 was eaten. So you get to choose for that one. All right, number 16. Kate says that 2/4 of the rectangle is shaded. Describe her error. Use the model to write the correct fraction for the shaded part. All right, 2-part question. So here's the fraction they gave us. And Kate is saying that 2/4 of this rectangle is shaded. Sure, the numerator is going to be 2. 2 is shaded. But the total number, that denominator, is not 4, like she said. It's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you could say she is wrong because the total number of pieces is not 4. The total pieces is, and let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is 6, all right? So the correct fraction would actually be 2/6, right? 6 is our denominator, the total number of pieces, and 2 is the numerator, how many are shaded in. So we gotta be careful with that. Whenever you see verify the reasoning, that means verify just means, is this true or not? And so you have to be very careful and look at what they're saying. All right, last one for today's lesson, number 17. Select a numerator and a denominator for the fraction that names the shaded part of the shape. All right, let's start with numerator. How many pieces are shaded here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to bubble this one in. Now the denominator is our total number of pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And off to the side, just write 5/8, right? And maybe you want to go and write it in word form. "5/8. My pencil has like no lead in it, so I'm so sorry that this looks horrendous. And I'm so picky about all of your handwriting, so I know you guys are saying, Miss Dowling, look what you're doing. So tomorrow I will write much neater, I promise. All right, so that's today's lesson, and I'm going to add another Khan Academy video. I really like that website, and a lot of you have commented that you do too on Google Classroom, so I'm happy about that. Now, moving on, take a break as usual. Get a snack if you need. Take a walk. I need to take a walk. I need some fresh air. And, you know, come back to this later. All right, we don't want to overwhelm our minds at all here. We also want to be doing, though, that 30 minutes of either Prodigy or IXL. And those, I've heard great feedback that you're enjoying them and they're a lot of fun. I can see your progress. I can see your answers. So some of you, also, I know this isn't math, but read theory. Delilah, shout out, 8th grade reading level. You've gotten some responses on and hundreds on those quizzes. So, and also Heather, 7th grade reading level right now for read theory responses. Just very proud of that. Work at your own pace. We're all at different paces. We're all different from one another. We've gone over this. And so no matter where you are, if you're putting in work, you're doing the best you can. That's all I ask. And I'm proud of every single one of you. For homework tonight, it's just going over today's lesson. Refer back to it if you need some help. Call me with any questions and I will be here. All right, see you guys all tomorrow.